Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Kathleen Gillen, and I'm the program coordinator at America's Unofficial Ambassadors. So we're really excited tonight to have two of our incredible alumni with us to answer some of your questions about our summer service internship program. So what we're going to do is I've compiled a list of our students' most pressing questions, and we're going to have Amber and Oksana, our alumni, answer these questions honestly and to the best of their ability. So for those of you who are watching via YouTube, if you have any questions that come up, most of you have my email address, so I'll be checking my email throughout the webinar, and I can add those questions as we go. So Amber and Oksana, why don't we start by just having you guys introduce yourself, mention where you go to school or where you went to school, where you went with AUA, and what you're doing now. So, Amber, do you want to start?
Yeah, hi, my name's Amber. I graduated from Duke University May 2015 with a major in international studies and Arabic. And I did America's Unofficial Ambassadors the summer of 2012, so my sophomore summer in college. And currently I'm in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Great. Oksana, you want to give us a little intro?
Sure. Hi, I'm Oksana. I'm currently a junior at the College of New Jersey. I'm majoring in biology with a minor in deaf studies. I went to Tajikistan the summer after my freshman year, so that was the summer of 2014.
Great. So the first question that we have is, why did you choose to volunteer with AUA over other summer opportunities? So kind of why was AUA your final choice? So whoever wants to take it first, go right ahead.
My first semester here, I took a course with Professor Gross, who's a professor of Eurasian Middle Eastern Studies here at the College of New Jersey, and it was a course that was assigned to me, but I ended up really liking. And she was launching the pilot year of AUA in Tajikistan, and she had mentioned it to the class, and I thought it was really interesting because there aren't many programs, especially American programs, who are willing to go to Muslim countries in this day and age. So it was really interesting, and more than anything, the sites in Tajikistan really appealed to me, specifically the one I worked at.
Great. Amber, how about you?
Yeah, I think when I started looking for internship opportunities that summer, I was really trying to focus in the Middle East, North Africa region as well, just because I had declared my majors then and really wanted to get some on-site experience. I think over other summer opportunities and just programs in general that do abroad type activities, I really liked this one because it was much more immersive in that you're interacting with the local culture and people every day and in a work setting, which is pretty different from some other volunteer opportunities where you come in kind of as like a foreign group or site and you do work, but you're not really fully immersing with the work that you're implementing in that country. So
yeah, I think both of you make really good points in that our program is unique because A, we work in places that many students don't typically go, as Oksana mentioned, and B, as Amber said, you know, you're going to immerse yourself in the culture where you travel, unlike some other programs where you might just hang out with your small group of American peers and you might not get to know other people quite as well. So it's, in talking to alumni, all of our alumni, not just Amber and Oksana, I think that's something that people really appreciate across the board. So that's kind of a good segue into our next question. So one of our prospective applicants wants to know what your favorite part of the program was and what the biggest challenge was.
I can take that question first. So I think my favorite part of the program, all in all, was the fact that I was there during Ramadan. And well, my students were the favorite part, and because I was there during Ramadan, I was given a bonus because I was invited to their iftars after class, which was a really great way to get to know more about the culture and more about my students outside of the classroom. It connected us much more. So still holding that teacher-student relationship, but just connecting on a personal level and having that cultural exchange between what it means to be an American and what it means to be an Moroccan.
Mm-hmm. Oksana, how about you? Favorite part of your program or the biggest challenge, either one?
So we'll start with favorite part. I really liked, and it was a very small part of my internship because unfortunately we didn't get to meet up with these people until the very end, but we got to meet with a volunteer group called Alegria. That is a youth volunteer group in Dushanbe. So it's all people who are from 14 to like 24 years old. And just hanging out with them that one weekend we got was really, really amazing. Like working with the kids that I did work with every day was truly something. But meeting these young volunteers who are working so hard to bring about change in their town, in their city, in their country was really great. And since we're the same age, they really let themselves like be honest and ask honest questions about what America's like and some of the things that they see on TV or in movies and things like that. So that was really great.
Just out of curiosity, since you both mentioned your students in your responses, are you guys still in touch with your students that you worked with at all?
Yes. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I am still in touch with my students via Facebook. We all they begged me for my information before I left, so they do message me occasionally just to practice their English and also just to say hi and that they miss me, which I definitely reciprocate the feeling. So the answer is yes.
Oh, that's so great. Oksana, how about you? I know sometimes it can be tough.
So I worked with autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
And very severely autistic children, very on the one end of the spectrum. So my communication with them was very different and limited. However, some of the volunteers I met that day and then some of the people I worked with, I am friends with on Facebook, and the director of the place where I worked, Lola, we occasionally email like around holidays and things like that. So.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear. I love hearing about past volunteers really having long-lasting relationships with their colleagues or their students. So I think we heard about the favorite part of the program, but what was the biggest challenge for each of you?
I think...
Sorry, go ahead.
I think for me, the biggest challenge and also what I would put as my biggest accomplishment was learning how to adapt to situations, not only like culturally, but also like in the classroom, and how to adapt to students' teaching styles, and just how to adapt to a week where Friday is the holiday and things like that.
So similar to that, my biggest challenge was adjusting to the pace of life in Tajikistan. You know, we went over with certain goals in our mind, and at times it was hard to meet them because it's just a more laid-back pace in Tajikistan. People take like 2-hour lunches and they chat and they talk, and it's a lot of personal connections. And when you're coming from the United States, where, you know, if you get a 15-minute lunch break where you're working through it, you know, that's a good day. It was a really big change of pace. So sometimes you felt like you weren't doing enough, but looking back, you see that you really did accomplish what you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that from volunteers so often, just that the pace of life is so much, you know, slower and more relaxed, and it's a bit of an adjustment, particularly in the workplace. So just something for everyone listening to keep in mind, that, you know, you will accomplish a lot in your internship, but having an open mind and being willing to adapt to the pace of where you are is really important. So next question. So Amber, you were in Morocco, so we'll start with you for this one. So of the 4 countries we work in, why do you recommend going to Morocco specifically for those students who are on the fence maybe?
Yeah, I love this question because Morocco is now one of my favorite countries, if not my favorite. So I chose Morocco personally because I had done a little bit of research and I knew that it involved a lot of different cultures, a mixture of Arabic but also Spanish influence, French influence. There's like a native culture called Amazigh there. So all of that kind of mixture together was something that I really wanted to experience, and one of my favorite things about Morocco in general. And then just to begin with, I really like the way of life that they have there. When we're talking about food and when we're talking about just how they interact with each other, it's much more hospitable, and it's just a really comfortable way of living.
Mhm. Oksana, how about you? So, um, why would you encourage one of our prospective applicants to choose Tajikistan?
It is different from any other place you'll ever go to. You don't hear of people going on a touristy, vacation to Tajikistan, unless they're really hardcore hikers and they're going to the Pamir Mountains. Um, it is completely unlike anything you've ever known, and it's also, after a while, it starts to feel homey. The people are really, really kind. Food is also a huge part of their culture, and you really see it at every mealtime. Just in the little things too. Like my coworkers noticed that I never ate the tomatoes in my salad, and they started making me a special plate that never had any tomatoes in it.
Oh, that's
And just little things like that. And then on top of that, even though it's a very small country, they've got a lot of things that they're up and coming in, and they're quite proud of. And it is a really interesting blend of a Muslim country that is that's not the biggest part about them. Because of the Soviet influence, in a lot of things they are secular, even though their religion does play a huge part of their identity. It is not the biggest part at times. So it's really interesting to see the remnants of the Soviet influence, mixing with the older roots of their Islamic history, and then the new blend that it's becoming now.
Yeah, both such great answers. I really think obviously there's no right or wrong choice. Everywhere that we work is incredible. But I think you guys just did a great job of summing up what makes each place really special, and you really can't go wrong. So our next questions are kind of different. So, what is a piece of advice? So this is from one of our prospective applicants. What is a piece of advice you wish you had before you left for your AUA internship that you didn't have? So what's something you wish that, the program coordinator told you or something?
I would say that the piece of advice that I would most like to receive, and this doesn't just go for the internship, but it applies very well here, is be okay with being not okay. Be okay with being uncomfortable at times. Because once you accept that there will be things that you're not completely comfortable with, and that you never will be because it's just so different from how you do things, then everything becomes so much better because you're not plagued by that guilt like, oh, I'm being such a foreigner that I can't accept the way that they do this, or, oh, I'm just not trying hard enough to, do something in a different way. It's okay to, realize that things are done differently, and it's okay to like your way better, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good advice for life. Just, being uncomfortable. I think that's life in general. Amber, how about you? What do you wish someone told you before you left?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Oksana. Stepping into discomfort was a big thing for me. But also adding on to that, another thing I can think of is just to be open and outgoing as much as possible. I think for me, just as a person, I'm not outgoing, but I'm not usually the first person to engage the conversation and ask all the questions. But since one of the main points of this program is to have, a bridging of cultures and to build relationships with the people that you're there with. If I had gone there and dove right into, finding out what people do outside of work and how they go about their day and just asking questions and being inquisitive, I think we would have grown closer a lot more quickly than we did. But that's not to say that I didn't have great relationships, but that would just be one piece of advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that from my travels, especially when I was younger, just feeling kind of shy or uncomfortable, trying to start conversations with people, especially while I was studying Arabic and spent some time in Morocco, and I was really insecure about how bad my Arabic skills were, and they were really
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah.
So, but that would prevent me from going out and talking to people. And I can totally agree with you, Amber, that the sooner that you get over that fear, and I think people will just be really excited that you're trying to use Arabic and want to help you and engage in a discussion with you. So and the Moroccan people are just so kind and hospitable that it's really easy after a while to get out of your comfort zone in that sense. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Amber. Did you have anything else you wanted to
No,
add to
I'm just agreeing. I definitely think that the language barrier was something in my subconscious that I was afraid of,
that?
and it when engaging in conversation. And it turns out that everyone was like so happy to just talk to me and learn English in general and practice their English with me that it wasn't an issue at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and in Tajikistan too, people are just generally curious because America is so far removed from their mindset, their thinking, out of sight, out of mind. So when they find out that you're American and you're there, they're very curious as to why.
Hmm.
And they don't seem to mind that your Tajiki or your Russian is completely broken, and they really just wanna talk to you, wanna communicate in any way to figure out why you're there, because America is really, really far removed from
Hmm.
their globe of scope.
Yeah, and it's such a wonderful perspective or a wonderful opportunity for you to show that, you know, Americans have humility and, we're willing to maybe look silly and sound like, we don't know what we're doing to learn more about this new person you just met. So just a really good thing to keep in mind for students thinking of applying. Okay, so our next question. So what's something, this is definitely not as deep as the last question. What's something that you wish you brought from home for your AUA internship?
I can say, yeah, it's not as deep of a question, but for sure for me, as soon as I got back, like a month into it, I was like, wow, I really wish I had got a tagine from Morocco, because that's their main like national dish is made in a pot that's called a tagine, and I really, really wanted that kind of food when I got back. Um, so that would have been really useful.
So this can be, so I might have miss asked the question. So something that you wish you brought from the United States for your internship.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, but I think Andrea, I like yours too.
Okay, reverse of that also though. I'm not sure what I wish I brought, but I am really, really glad that I brought pictures and souvenirs and just like little trinkets from my hometown because that was a big part of how I introduced myself and um, explained my like daily life to my students. And it was a big part of how they learned about American culture was like through my eyes. So those pieces really helped.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Oksana, how about you?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. A lot of people were quite curious as to, what my town looks like. They kept asking, is Dushanbe like New York? And
Mm,
I couldn't explain properly that New York had skyscrapers, and I tried to tell them like they're buildings that look like they touch the sky. So they're like, oh, so like our flagpole, because they have a giant flagpole in the middle of Dushanbe that's one of the tallest flagpoles in the world. And I'm like, I really want to tell them no, bigger than that, but they didn't quite believe that. But if I had had like a good picture of me standing in the middle of Times Square or something like that to really tell them about that, or how I live in New Jersey, so New Jersey, while near New York, is completely different, and that kind of thing.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think bringing postcards is a really good way to do that, especially, to show what your hometown looks like or maybe pictures of your family. I know in my travels, people I've met have wanted to see what my family looked like, and I don't know, just all some good ideas that will help you break the ice with new people and share different aspects of your personal life. Um, so those are really good answers from both of you. Okay, so back to another deeper question. So Amber, I think you are up for this one. So as young women, and this is from an applicant, a young woman who's thinking of applying. As young women, we often hear a lot about security concerns, or maybe young women are concerned that they're not going to be able to do as much or access as many experiences abroad, and specifically in Muslim majority countries. Um, but at the same time, there are so many benefits to being a woman abroad as well. So I'm kind of curious, and this is a really deep question, I think. But can you tell us what you think the benefits of being a woman abroad are, and specifically in Morocco? What things did you have access to as a young woman that you might not have had access to otherwise? It's a really tough question, I know.
Yeah, no, but I love this because it's never asked in this way. It's always the counter. So this is a really good question. I think this is gonna maybe be a little confusing to follow, so let me know if it gets rough. But a lot of the times, this goes into the fact that there's a lot of stereotypes with being a woman and being a man, and mostly when it comes to safety and traveling abroad, they're negative ones for women. But I think one of the positive stereotypes that our society has put on women is that we are more humane in a way, and that we have more emotion, and that we're more open to ideas, and that kind of view that society has placed on us, and it makes us more approachable, I think, for foreigners to be open with us and tell us their stories. So I think there's a lot of times, and also even more so than that, just in foreign societies in general, sometimes women are less likely to, or even sometimes not allowed to, talk to men that they don't know. So you get like insider access to those personal stories from both women and men that might not be told to a male counterpart.
Yeah, and I think that was a great answer and not hard to follow at all.
Okay, great.
And I'll add, just because I think Oksana had to step out for a moment, I'll add from my experience is that I think some of the most memorable and wonderful experiences I've had abroad were with other women. Specifically, and it will be different for AUA volunteers. I was living with a Moroccan family for a while and was able to just have some really meaningful experiences with my host mother and sisters and get some really incredible insight into women's lives in Morocco that a man might not have gotten. So I think there are trade-offs, but I think we only hear about the negative side of being a woman traveling, and there are so many positives as well. So Oksana, the question is a tough one. I'm not sure if you heard it before.
I did.
Okay, great. So do you want to weigh in on the pros of being a woman abroad?
Definitely. Like Amber said, you do really get to see a different side of life. In a lot of, especially in Tajikistan, a lot of the volunteer agencies, especially the ones that work with children, they're started, worked by, funded, completely run from top to bottom by women. Because they're the ones who are worried about the futures of their children. Rhoda, for example, was started by a mother who quit her career as a physician because she realized that there were absolutely no resources for her autistic son.
Incredible.
And the entire center is run by other mothers. So, being a woman working there, you get to see a more relaxed point of view from them because it's an all-woman workspace, or so it happened to be in my case. Those who do wear hijab aren't worried about covering up. So, one, the hijab comes off because you're all around women, but that's just a symbolic thing for how relaxed they let themselves be around other women. So, I got to hear personal stories from hardships these women faced raising an autistic child, not only from the general public but from their families as well, and things like that wouldn't be told to a male counterpart because it just isn't proper, at least in the culture. Another thing that's really great is women here and abroad, you travel in packs together, so you always have a built-in buddy system. you want to head to the store, all your female coworkers, or at least one of them, is willing to go with you.
Yeah.
And it's really, really helpful to have that built-in buddy system, built-in reliability, and it's just a more relaxed atmosphere being around the women.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you both for sharing those. Maybe because this week was International Women's Day, I like the question so much. So we only hear about the negative sides of that sometimes, so it's nice to talk about the positives too. So switching gears a little bit again. So I think one thing that's really unique about America's unofficial ambassadors is the level of rigor of the internships. So, you are not taking an internship where you're just like filing something or sifting through an Excel spreadsheet all day. You're actually taking on some really meaningful responsibilities. So I'm curious from both of you, what professional skills do you think that you developed through your AUA internship?
So working with autistic children presents a special challenge in which some days you're 2 steps forward and the next day you can be 5 steps back. So that in my professional experience has taught me that, sometimes setbacks will happen and you just have to keep going, because the next day they might regain everything they lost the day before, and you have good days and you have bad days, and that's a really good thing to be able to cope with, like roll with the punches, and that helped a lot. Like now in my current job, that's a skill that I gained while working with those children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just the ability to be resilient and see the bigger picture, like you mentioned, is just so important in any job. Amber, how about you?
Yeah, I'm really glad that I wasn't working on an Excel sheet all day in this internship. But what actually surprised me about this position is that I didn't necessarily expect it to give me a big boost on my resume or anything like that. That's not why I signed up. But maybe this is just because I was hired a few months ago. I did realize that in most of those interview questions where companies are asking you about situational experiences where you had a challenge or some kind of specific situation where something went wrong and you had to fix it, I almost could come up with a specific experience that I had during AUA that I could apply to any of those questions. That's just how broad the experience was for me. Not to mention the fact that I think this was the first real position that I had had where I had the most management and responsibility. So, I mean, instructing, 3 different levels of English classes and managing 40 students and their different teaching styles, that's a big, burden to take on. And I think having that on the resume also really helped, just professional-wise.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. No, thank you both. I think they're really good answers. So, for the sake of time, we do have a question about safety tips, but both Oksana and Amber recorded their answers to this question previously, and it's up on our website if anyone's interested. So I'm going to skip that one for the moment because you guys both gave great answers in your videos for the safety component. So we have time, I think, for about one more question. So I'm going to ask kind of a meta level, broad question. So how do you, or not even how do you think that your experience with AUA has impacted your goals for the future, or, did it kind of change your trajectory at all? And it's okay if your answer is no. I'm more just curious.
If anything, it solidified the trajectory I want to go in. I'm a biology major here at the college, and my penultimate goal is to join Doctors Without Borders. And so a big component of that is worrying, like, will I be able to, one, get through med school and all of the scary things that go with that, and two, would I be all right being so far from home and working on something that sometimes is really hard to see the big picture? And working with AUA, which is a global program in a place that's 9 hours ahead of the rest of my family. In that really showed me that yes, I can, and I will be able to, despite the time differences, despite the difference in pace of life, and all these different things. It is possible for me to keep going and actually make a difference, whether or not I saw it at the time. So it really helped solidify dreams and goals and hopes in that respect.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It guided my path. Like I said, I was an international studies major, but at that point I had just declared in. I didn't really know how I was going to take that further because international studies involves so many different spheres. But it really gave me an introduction to what international development work looks like on the ground. And I later realized that on-site work is something that's really needed in international development. But yeah, so in general, I think now what I'm working on right now in my position is international development work and global health. So it's definitely something that has impacted me and influenced my decision making.
Yeah, and to build off that a little, if anyone listening is interested in international development or international relations more broadly, there's really nothing that compares to grassroots work on the ground. It shows you're committed, it shows that you've seen firsthand, what international development work is, and being able to put that on your resume is a really valuable experience and just a good experience for you to gain that perspective personally. And if you're, as Oksana, she is a biology major, and she wants to go into Doctors Without Borders, but even if you're a biology major and you want to go to med school, you're going to learn a lot of things about yourself and develop resiliency and being able to manage your time and your tasks. And I think all those things are really important, or equally important to your own professional development. So there is something for everybody. So I promised that we would be a half an hour, and we've been about a half an hour. Oksana and Amber, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
Just that it's a really great program, but like everything else, it's exactly what you put into it.
Great point.
So you have to go in with the right attitude, with the right kind of mindset in order for this to be the most it can be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great program. I made lifelong friendships there. It built on my professional development. So it really was like a big exclamation point in my life, like timeline thus far. So I really recommend applying, even if you're not sure if you can go. Just fill out the application because you don't want to give up that possibility.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you, Amber and Oksana, for giving up a half an hour of your Thursday night for us. We really appreciate it. So before we will sign off here, just if anyone has any questions, I think everybody in the entire world knows my email address by now. So feel free to reach out to me, or if you have any specific questions for Amber or Oksana, you can reach out to me as well, and we can be in touch about that. But thank you again, and this was a really nice conversation, and I hope everybody has a good night.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course, anytime. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.